my mother said to me as a young, and it kept coming up was, God can't direct parked cars.
That's right.
You got to keep moving. And even if you're going the wrong way, you still got to keep going to get to the turnaround.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Artist Talk, and I'm excited as usual about my next guest, Marcus Paul James. Marcus Paul James wears so many hats, and we're going to talk about as many of them as we can in an hour. So join me for the conversation right now. We're talking about Broadway inspirational voices. Marcus and I are members of Broadway Inspirational Voices. Marcus, though, what's your title with the choir?
Director of External Communications and member.
Director of External Communications.
Yeah, I know, we got fancy over the years.
I see. Are you still handling the social media and all of that?
Yeah, so that's all the part of all the external communication. So any communication you see from BIV has to pass through my department.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how is your social media consumption as an artist? Are you addicted?
I think I have to be addicted so that I can be effective, right? I feel like I don't have to like something to understand it. And I feel like the more I don't like it, probably it's best I understand it. So what I don't know don't get me later.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because I run it for other companies like BIV, it's important for me to still be active in it. And also in my own world, it still is a viable way to reach the people who love us dearly and support us. And when we have projects, we still have to put them out. So as much as it can have its ways and days, I think it's still important to still be connected. And I do sometimes go, Marcus, put the phone down. Yeah. Stop scrolling. Yeah. I still have to tell myself that. So yes is the answer. I guess I am addicted in the degree, but at least I'm cognizant of it.
I know. That's all you can be. It's like, okay, Angela, that's enough.
Right.
You know? The drug users who start using.
Right.
It's like, okay, I know I need this.
Right.
Now I got to figure out how to manage it.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So now, what was it like? First of all, can we talk about your voice? I spent some time listening to you, and I already, as soon as you came out with your project in 2010, I bought it. You know, I'm a stalker, but so I already knew. But I spent some time before this interview just listening. That voice. It really is butter. It's I mean, all I could say is tone. You're giving me like Leslie Odom tones, honey, just tones. But
Hey you, it's good to see you. You look good. Your hair's gotten longer.
But I know you like as a gospel growler. So
barking.
So I mean, did you train as a vocalist, or where did you get all these colors?
I think so I didn't really have my first formal vocal training till college. Everything before that had just been literally singing in the choir. That's, I had one of those typical beginnings, very much singing there. But when I got to high school, something I think, looking back, I realized something special was given to me was the ability to not worry about anything. And so I went to a boarding school. I went to boarding school in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, Brownsville, and Flatbush. But in 8th grade, I was sent to Milton Hershey School in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And that school was started by Milton Hershey himself, of Hershey Chocolates, created a school for underprivileged students. I went there, and there was such an interesting place because there was so many other kids from other cities and places in this place. Where is this place? In the middle of Hershey. Now we're surrounded by cows and manure and Hershey Park. Like, you know what I mean? Just a whole different world. So we were already displaced in a certain way. And I think it was the schools maybe on purpose to be like, give them everything. So when we had a piano in our house so I was the only person that played it. I got music books. I just started reading them because I could read music at that point. And I was just playing them. And no one said, don't learn. You can't learn this music. So anything I could figure out, I read, whether it was musical theater, whether it was my Stevie Wonder anthology. Like I just was like playing and got to experience music in all different ways. And to me, I was like, not everything needs to be barked because Luther Vandross didn't bark this and Stevie didn't bark this one. So I'm going to sing it like that. And but over here is Old Man River. So I got to like, how do I get that sound out? So I think just being able to like not be told what to do and just be able to play, I think really was the foundation of like making sounds, which is what I tell people. It's like, make sounds. Go make some sounds. Figure out what sounds you can make. And then eventually they'll become tools.
Wow. So you didn't have any limitations. Nobody limited you by saying, oh, this is what you are.
Correct. Not until I got to college. That was the
Where'd you
first
go to
time.
college?
Penn State University.
And what did they do there?
Well, that was the first time I can say that it was the first time someone said to me, you can't do this because you're Black.
Yeah.
That was the first time I've ever heard that, even though I was in the middle of probably the whitest area of Hershey, Pennsylvania, you know what I mean? I never felt like a Black person until I was at Penn State. And I was told that. I couldn't sing music because I'd never played that part. And I was like, but ain't the music black and white? Never mind. Don't mind me. What do I know? I'm a kid. Like, I'm going to do what the adults say to do. So that was the first time I ever started doing that. And then also a voice teacher that I had there was also confused by my ability, I guess, because a good mentor of ours and gospel choir teacher, Dr. Anthony Leach, just passed away this past couple of weeks ago. But he was my gospel choir teacher in high school. So he would drive down to Milton Hershey and once a month, I believe, and like we would have gospel choir rehearsal. He also happened to be a teacher in the music department at Penn State. So when I got to Penn State, I was automatically year one in the gospel choir. So I had that going on while I was doing my musical theater studies. And it wasn't until I think my third year, my voice teacher came to a concert for the first time. And she was like, oh my God. She was like, I went to your concert. And I was like, oh, great. And she was like, I've never heard you sing notes like that. I've never heard you. How come you don't sing like that in here? And my little baby Marcus said, well, I meant that. In here, I'm just trying to do whatever you're telling me to do.
Oh, wow.
So tell me to do stuff and I will do them.
And I'll do them well, but I'm just going to do what you tell me to do.
Right, because I'm in school and you're the teacher. And it's not my job I don't know what my job is. My job is to learn. But over here, I get to just be and sing in a way that is pleasing to me and the Lord. And that makes me happy. And so what she could see there was different than what she could see here. But I was just like, it's just all of me. What are you talking about? I don't get it.
Yeah. Do you feel that, have you ever done a show in musical theater where you could sing like you feel from your guts?
Yeah, it actually happened just after college. So I left college with a cappella group that was like about to be signed to a record label, but we were nervous about it. So then we moved to Jersey, because they were afraid of the city. So we moved to Jersey. Right. I was like, don't you know? They didn't know. And that's when I auditioned for Rent for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I was number 258 on the audition. And, by the time they got to me, it was an 8-bar call. And
yes.
like only sing 8 bars, right? So I ended up getting it. And what
was your 8 bars?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
It had to have been from I'll Cover You.
Okay.
I think it was like, live in my house, I'll be your shelter. Just send me back with 1,000 kisses. Be my lover, and I'll cover you. I think that may have been what it was at.
Yeah.
That's
a good one.
I was like, I don't know how many they are. For Collins. But so I get it. We're in rehearsal, and it was like non-equity. So it was like bus and truck. So we had like a 3-week rehearsal before we went to Canada to Tech. So we go to rehearsal. Every time we get to the reprise, I played Collins. I was cast as Collins. So when we get to the reprise, in rehearsal, we would skip it and move on because we were like, time. And so we kept time. So now here we are. We're about to leave New York City. We're doing a run through. They invite everybody to come. People from the Broadway, people rained up. All the our OG creatives are there. And you're like, oh wow. And I was like, Michael Greif was directing us as well. And I was like, we've never done the reprise. You didn't tell me what to do. And he said, sing the song. Sing the song. And I was like, but you didn't, I understand there's a, yes, but what do you want me to do in it? He said, sing the song like you know how. And I was like, what? Okay, all right. I don't like it, but okay, because I'm not in this realm have I ever been asked to do what I want to do. I've just been, tell me what to do and I will make those sounds and I will sing to the one and I will be in tune. And, so and that was the first time that I was allowed or given permission to just be.
Wow.
And
what did they do when you did that?
I just believed it. I mean, it was always, I had people like Michael McElroy to look up to when I think about like things like that. And I go, I know we're in a play, but there's some original seasoning in here.
Yeah.
There's some other stuff that I understand in a not theater realm in this. And so that's what I understand. And that's what I'm going to try and bring as much as I can because I know this medium. So I think that I just tried to do my best and brought everyone with me as much as I could. And I definitely got notes as we got further on, and they were so gentle and so specific. And looking back at that, realizing how much of a gift that was for someone to not know, someone to trust me enough as a child to just use my gift, and then to be able to help me in a way that was delicate, which I had never experienced before.
Wow. How did you get through the times when it wasn't delicate? How did you handle that?
Well, I feel like I could always fall back on technicality, which I think was maybe I'm sure a gift, right? Is that like, not only can we sing from our guts, I can also tell you what note I'm singing, and I can also tell you what mode we're in. I can also tell you, you know what I mean? What key we're in. So when I was ever met with questions about things, I go deeper and go, let's make it technical. What do you want? Where's the breath? Where's the tone? Where's the spin? Well, you want vibrato? You want straight tone? What do you want? Say what you want, and I'll do that. If you don't, I'm gonna default to my feelings and playing it the best with what I got. But if you got some suggestions, throw them in there. Which sometimes can confuse people if they don't speak our languages. And then I go, well, then stop saying notes if you can't speak the language like this. Then get somebody that can. I know back then, very much.
Yes.
But that's how I would try to get through it. The only other thing that I really hit up was people receive my voice as raspy,
which is amazing.
But they were like, we don't know what to do with that. We don't know what that means. And I was just like, what do you mean you don't know what that means? I was like, well, you want me to sing it or not? Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't get what the confusion is. So that was probably the first big thing that I was just like, people didn't know what to do with me.
Yeah.
They were like, are you gonna, can you do it for a week? And you're like, well, that's not it. You'll see. but that do
Yeah.
worry about that.
Yes. Because you have, I mean, I've heard you raspy. I've heard you not raspy. I mean, that voice can do so many things. No, they were clueless. Did you feel, or do you feel, that your musical theater career conflicts with your recording career or complements it?
I would say that for a long time they were in competition, only because I think the world was a little more separate in that way, right? I feel like pop in theater was still new. Like, you know what I mean? Still figuring out how it finds its ways. And there was still like places where it did not belong in theater.
Mhm.
But I think as the years have gone on, they've absolutely done this. And
Mhm.
especially the explosion of like movie musicals. And I've had the pleasure of doing like 12 of them now, right?
What?
Singing on them, it's like it really bridges that gap in the way of that, like, you would not have called me to do this recording if I didn't know what to do on a microphone.
Hmm.
So that was when my two worlds really started coming together in
Yeah.
a way that was like, oh, yes, I understand what you mean by where we are in this play. And I also understand that you need us with no vibrato to slide from the basement to the top. and do what we got to do, which is more pop. So I was like, finally, the two worlds are kind of like merging in a way that is also like a part of the career.
Right. Who did you have any influences of other artists that had done that, sort of merged musical theater with pop careers? Who were they?
I wouldn't say so. Yes. So they come in like different waves of it, right? The people who I like idolize, right? Who I realize that who were like, well, they sing. I understand how they sing, right?
Yeah.
The Billy Porter, Michael McElroy, Norm Lewis,
Yeah.
um, uh, um, Brian Stokes Mitchell. They were definitely like the my forefronters who was telling me a musical story on as well as doing their job that was speaking to me as I was like, this seems like it's for me. That run that Michael did is for me.
Wow.
Like, because he's hitting every mark, but this soulful turn is on purpose and it's for me because I understand that makes sense to me. And so I started, that was what I could see for the first time. But I couldn't particularly, as they were figuring it out, I couldn't figure out how to use it as a skill in this. But
Hmm.
then I got to actually like come up with Shoshana's and the Shayna Steele
Oh,
and Leslie Odom. Like, you know what I mean? Is that like all of a sudden there were these people we were working with that was like, we love doing this, but could you come sing background for me in my concert at 12 o'clock on Thursday?
yeah.
And we're like, absolutely. So then there was a whole culture of theater folk who would wipe off the grease paint or put more on and do another show. And I was like, that was the culture that kind of was my Broadway time of like, yeah, we do a show at 8 and then we do another at another time. And also when I did Rent was a special cast because they didn't particularly, they always sought for the unicorns and for the people who not only like theater, but like singing and like making music because it calls for, I think, a little bit of a musician as well, not just a singer. So I feel like that show was surrounded by people that also had their own albums and also had all shows. And I was 22 or 23 years old and everyone else is doing concerts at these big venues, instead of the show, or you know what I mean, or Frenchie's flying off, whisked off to anywhere to go sing for whom. And you were like, this is fantastic of a world. So that was felt like it was natural and normal till I realized that people in Hairspray wasn't doing the same thing. People in
Right.
though Shayna was in Hairspray, not everybody else was. Like, not every show was working like this. So I felt special to find that community, and what did feel like underground, but it was where we got to flex kind of both of our muscles, where we kind of fed both of the demons, and where they could, and they where they were, because back then they were more separate.
Yeah. I didn't realize you did rent with Frenchie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep. I was Mrs. Jefferson. She was Mrs. Jefferson for a long time. I was in
really?
rent for a long time. So
Oh, she's my sweetie.
yeah, she talks about you all the
Are
time.
you serious? We had
Yes.
such a good time with Dream Girls. She was such
Yes.
a great Effie. Such a great.
Yes.
So what was it like growing up with a Panamanian DJ dad?
Ah.
And what makes the Panamanian part different from any other DJ?
Well, and it's funny because as and that line opens up a lot of sorry, I always say that it's in my bio, and it's funny
Yeah.
to me because it's like, I don't know that man. I don't know that man. I don't know that man. I don't know him. Don't know.
You put that in your bio.
But what's
But it's the
important to
truth.
me is that I am half Panamanian. So like there is it is a part of my culture. Like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? I do have, it is my blood, half my blood is Panamanian.
Yes.
That is important. And the DJ part was super important because my mother, when they broke up, took half of his record set collection. So
Yeah.
in my house growing up, we had these crates of records. And I'm now told my mom, it's like, that wasn't the whole, I just took what I liked. So I had all the hits on records. So we listened. So every Saturday when we were cleaning, and Sunday afternoon, I would put on the record player, and it was Luther Vandross, it was Patti LaBelle, it was James Ingram, it was all this music that was in my life.
Yeah.
So I feel like the important part is that like there was so much music in my life
Yeah.
from an early age that it almost feels like a part of me. So I claim all those parts, so that's what
I
that is.
love that. I love that. I don't know that man, but he did leave me some records.
And some DNA.
And
Like, you know
some
what I mean?
DNA. That's
And mi gentes, yes, yeah.
yes, amen. So who are you listening to now? Who are you
Oh,
loving? Who are you loving?
oh, I've really been in my Afrobeats phase at the moment.
Oh,
Only because I'm fighting a little bit of like, I sometimes have to get away from the world. And I also work in a wedding band. So 3/4 of the year, I'm singing the top 40s.
right,
So when I'm like want to chill sometimes, I sometimes can't turn to the top 40s.
right,
So
right.
I've been in my Afro beats era at the moment. But Teddy Swims just came out with a new album, which I am excited to continue to listen. Something about that is intriguing to me. Giveon is another artist that's piquing my earlobes with some like tasty treats.
Okay.
And singing, I have a tendency, again, because I grew up with so many balladeers,
Yeah.
and I went through the full '90s as a Boys to Men or Die, you type of situation. So I'm a sucker for singing.
Yeah.
So I always feel like my ear tugs to the artists who are like, who decide to put a flat foot down and give me a little something. And Money Long, that's another one.
Oh yeah.
I've been
Friend, where
frequent.
have you been?
Right. Nobody loved you like you do now. Until you try to sing it, and then you're like, nobody loved it like
Yes.
unless you're a real soprano like you.
Uh, no, I don't know what I am these days, but yes, I like her too. Did you get flack for like not the growing up Baptist? I grew up Baptist too.
Mm-hmm.
So did you get flack for like not doing gospel music and doing all these other types of music?
Not particularly. Not particularly. Because I went to boarding school and then went
Mhm,
to Penn State. I kind of
mhm,
spent a little bit of that part of my life in Pennsylvania.
mhm.
So my family back here in New York. Now my grandmother, I went to my church is called Amy's Chapel, Fire Baptized Holiness Church of God in the Americas.
That's not, of course it is. Of course
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm used to those titles from growing up down south, but this was up here.
This is up here.
Come
Up
on
here
now, Grandma.
somehow.
Yes,
And so so I know there was a difficult time when my mother decided to send me to Pennsylvania for the first time.
of
I think
course.
there was like a concern about that. So I think there might have been some like some slack in that realm that my mother had to deal with.
Yeah.
But again, my mother is such a stronghold that I never had to question her decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And no one could either. So I mean, looking back, I felt like I was in a bubble. I was just like, well, this is what I'm doing. And and I didn't have a choice. You get those mothers that's like, what's the plan B?
Right. Right.
Plan A, got it. Cool. So we kind of just that was what I did. And I just followed that. And so I kind of was protected in a certain degree. But what
Mhm.
she had to deal with on the other end, I'm sure was more than what I could understood.
She protected you.
For sure. But from so far away. That's, I
Yeah.
think, some of the brilliance of it is that I never felt smothered. And I'd rather do what's right than to worry about doing it wrong or what comes from doing it wrong. Why don't I just do it right?
Mm-hmm.
And then get to do it once and you can move on. So that's just the way it just made sense to me in that way. So I didn't feel her hovering, but there was definitely a cone of protection. And then when I do say that like going through college, I always had a sense of who I was, though I didn't know what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes some sense. Is that
Yeah.
like I was never, no one, even when I went to Penn State and when they were like, you can't sing this, or why can't you understand this, or giving me, I just felt so behind the curve,
Yeah.
but I never felt attacked. And my spirit was never attacked from it. And I guess the folks would say it's because I never lost who I was and whom I was. And so I feel like maybe that I say I was covered in so much blood that didn't matter what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I definitely felt always safe,
Mm-hmm.
though very confused.
Yeah.
But
But that safety is what freed you up to create such beautiful art.
I think so. It allowed me to, I think, be vulnerable, which I wasn't for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time specifically, I think, remember when I think it was in high school, and I think we didn't have theater until like maybe my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
Our theater teacher came back and we were now taking theater classes and we're doing exercises of like, I can be hurt by you. And those Meisner exercises where you like repetition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and apparently, I'm gonna have to take it for word, is that like apparently I was so confident and comfortable in myself that people could perceive it as arrogance in a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
Or like he doesn't question himself about this. I sing every Sunday to church service. I sing, I choreograph. So there's so many things that I'm doing that I never questioned if I could do them. But so in this class, we were doing exercise, and I didn't have a partner because it was a partner. I had to partner with the teacher, and it was that we had I could be hurt by, or it was like I can be hurt by you. What do you call them? Exercise.
Yeah.
But really, we just had to affect the other person.
Right.
And she said to me, and so she was like, I'll start. She's like, Mark, she's like, great. You think you're a star in the theater program. You think that because you are successful and well versed in one area, that all areas apply, and that you may not have to do work to get to them. And I was like,
That landed on you.
I was like, ah, I was like, but more not in the sense of that's true, but more so I was like, is that what it looks like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that what you think? Because that is absolutely not what I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first time, but for something in that moment cracked the Brooklyn boy that had to be hard, that cracked, the child that had to take himself on a public service bus without knowing, couldn't even see the top of the coin dispenser, but I had to put my token in to get on the bus to take myself to pre-K. And like, you know what I mean? Like, they're all the things that I had to be strong about. I realized that was the first crack in that outside shell that allowed me to be a little bit more vulnerable and allowed me to actually like figure out how to deal with emotions in a different way, which I think eventually would lead to how to figure out how to love and how to be loved. I think that was the beginning of that journey. But there definitely was a definitive moment where my face was cracked, and out of that came came an emotional life that didn't make sense to me and overwhelming to a sense.
Yeah.
Even, even still, I'm like, reel it in, kid, reel it in.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the bulk of actor training, trying to get yourself to open up and be affected by the other actor or what they're saying or what they're doing. And you had that moment in high school.
Yeah, but it was so scary because I was so full of emotions, and you don't realize how much city kids are beasts. City kids have to manage and compartmentalize so much
Yeah.
that like sometimes like letting some of that weight go is like tearful because you only know the weight. You only know how to survive.
Yeah.
So you don't so living is a harder task when survival is your tools.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
You go to performing arts high school?
No, it was Milton Hershey School was just a school for underprivileged students, was kind of like the theme of it. So you had to be, you have to be lucky enough to be poor enough to and make good enough grades to be accepted. But once you're accepted, they gave you everything. You came with nothing. You came with a small suitcase of small things, and they gave you everything else. So it
Does
really
this school still exist? Does this school
it
still
does. It does. And
really?
it's called Milton Hershey School in Hershey, Pennsylvania. This year I went back to do the opening ceremony. The school has grown. It's a very special place to me because I don't it's done so well. And when we talk about like institutional wealth or institutional knowledge and generational wealth and about building something, Milton Hershey put $1 million in the bank in 1906. And the school, it doesn't die till like, I think 1920 something. The school runs off the interest of that $1 million. So every year they get more money. And if they don't spend it, they have to pay taxes on it. So they spend every dollar they can on these children. So these kids, when I left, there was like I think a $2,000 a year scholarship to college for up to 5 years. The next year, they came back and was like, actually, we'll pay up to $2,000 of any scholarship. So we'll pay all of your scholarship and leave you $2,000 to figure out instead for as many years as you want for every student that goes there. So like, and leaving with a computer package and clothes and you know what I mean? So it really is a wonderful place that gives a start that a reset for some kids who didn't have the first set.
How did your mom find out about this? I mean, this is amazing.
I think she said she had a coworker had to take time off the year or a year or so prior to go to her daughter's graduation from the school. And then she brought back a pamphlet. And that's what she learned about it initially. And then I think I was in 7th grade and I was about to go into the end of the year, and they had let my mother know that I think it was placing in the advanced learning students, which I'm not going to talk about East New York that way, but like I was just like, I'm not sure I was the smartest kid in the world, but I might have been the smartest kid in the school. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But they were going to skip me grades. They wanted to skip me from 8th to 9th, which would have put me in high school as a 7th grader, which in Brooklyn, which means a little kid and a big kid, where there are like 18-year-old kids still in high school at
Still
that
in
point.
11th grade, right?
Right, exactly. So it was like, and my cousins were bullies and they weren't going to that school. So like there was a like, she was nervous about that. And I think that's what fast tracked the school kind of on her. She's like, well, let me go look into this, what it is. And it just seemed to line up. And I
Wow.
auditioned and they said yes. And so
It seems to be like one of the pivotal things in your life that thank goodness it happened and look where
yeah,
we, you know,
yeah.
that's
And something that like, something I can say that like I think about every now and again, or something that has been on my journey is that like, there's a difference between like, I remember when I left my senior year of college, I took a sabbatical to come here to do some stuff. Sabbatical, not sabbatical. I took a year off, basically. I was like, not sabbatical, I wasn't working. I took a year off, and a classmate said to me, they were like, "Why would you do that? You know, your parents work so hard for you to come. Like, don't you just want to finish?" And like, and I said, and I at that moment, with no judgment, was like, "You don't know me at all. My mother didn't plan. Nobody planned for this. This wasn't in the. Everything from this point on is outer space. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? There's no long plan that I got. Like, this wasn't even, I'm outside of the dreams that I could have had already.
yeah.
So I'm just trying to take it all in and understand it, which is a different thing. And I sometimes have to give myself grace. You know, when you look back and you're like, oh, I wish I would have, I wish I would have, I wish I would have. And you're like, but you didn't, because you were already above everyone's wildest dreams. You know what I mean? Where you were coming from, people couldn't dream this far.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have a roadmap in front of you. So what do so when you feel lost, and sometimes it's like, I am just lost. And I have to accept that. Keep moving. Just so you don't stay lost, but acknowledging that like, I don't know where I am. I don't understand this. And I don't get what I'm supposed to do, but I'm gonna keep moving and hopefully my mother said to me as a young, and it kept coming up was, God can't direct parked cars.
That's right.
You gotta keep moving. And even if you're going the wrong way, you still gotta keep going to get to the turnaround.
Yeah.
So you gotta keep moving. And so that kind of was like, well, keep going, keep your head down, keep plowing, and you'll eventually run into a wall or a turn or a river or something that gives you some sense of direction, and you'll go there. And so I have to kind of be kind to myself, because if those turning points didn't happen, this would have been a very different story.
Yeah. So I won't even ask, it's a waste to ask an 8th grade going away to boarding school if you were scared, because in pre-K you were getting on the bus by yourself. So
Right.
I'm sure being scared probably wasn't something you were feeling.
Confused, not scared was never the feeling.
Yeah.
Like, what is it?
Yeah.
But it was also a culture shock. I also couldn't sleep I remember not being able to sleep well there, because I'm from the city and I lived behind a hospital, Brookdale Hospital in New York, behind the emergency, right? And like, I could look out my window and look at the emergency room, so hearing sirens, hearing yelling, hearing gunshots was a normal part of my life. Now, all of a sudden, I hear cows and crickets and silence. Terrified. So like, that was like, I was like, I don't know where I am. I don't know what's happening. I didn't know that you could sound like this. It was just so much new information.
Yeah.
That it was more so like that. And I think are you familiar with beef patties?
Beef patties? You mean Jamaican?
Jamaican beef patties, yeah.
Of course.
So here in New York City, the only place I know to get one is at a Jamaican spot or a pizza shop.
Yeah.
So I was in Pennsylvania. And like my first year, and they're like, "When you go get pizza from the pizza shop," and I was like, "I'm fantastic. I want to go." I was like, "Great!" And I get up there. I was like, "Can I have a beef patty, please?" And that man said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't sell hamburgers." And I remember I was like, if I would have had a thug tear, it would have fell there. I was like, I'm not in Kansas anymore, am I?
Not in Kansas anymore.
I'm not in Kansas anymore. Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, no,
That was
they
a
don't
New
know.
York thing. That's when even it's so much. It was like, got it. Note to self: different
Mhm.
states are different.
They ain't got no beef patties.
They ain't got no beef patties up here.
So you mentioned, you said, I couldn't have dreamed this. Like I couldn't have. Are you surprised? Did God surprise you where you are now? Or did you have any dreams? Did you think I want to be this thing, or is every moment like like I can't believe this has happened to me?
I think, I think it's a little. I I almost feel embarrassed to say that sometimes it feels like I can't believe this thing is happening to me, but not because it fell into my lap.
Oh,
And I
you worked
think
for it.
that's the other thing to me is that so I had a this is I was I have a very interesting relationship with the word dreams because when we were taught it, it felt like it was it I I remember asking, I was like, well, this all sounds fantastic, right? Firefighter, astronaut. Like I was like, that all sounds great. Is that like what how does one get there? And I think I even realized it's like, how does one get there from Brooklyn? Like I think that was somewhat cognizant of is that like I was like, I don't know no astronauts. I don't know no firefighters. I, show me some. Like I don't see none that we could be. So it didn't make sense to me. I was like, so are these dreams or are these like what are the steps to get there? It can't just be I want to be one. And I really love performing. I love Michael Jackson. I love like music. I love like that. And I was like performing is fun to me and I love singing. And so like that was always a thing that I was like, cool, I'd love to do that. I didn't really think of it as a career because no one told me it was because I didn't understand money.
Right.
Like, it's just so like, so the dreams thing really felt like it was, I was being told to think about things that I couldn't, that would be, aim for the moon so you end up amongst the stars. And I was just like, I want to go to the moon. That's the point is the moon, no? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Hmm.
So a little bit of so I was hesitant to use that thing as opposed to trying out this is what I want, or this is what is in front of me to want. How do I get it? And so that became a thing. And I remember like I started making like steps. They like put my steps together. Like you know what I mean? If I'm learning stuff as I learned how to do a roll and like learn how to warm up. And I was like, when something was real, I was like, got it. 2 hours. Okay. For the first 30 minutes, I'm a beep, 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 beep. If I just follow the steps, maybe I'll get to the result, like they say. So
Yeah.
I just started kind of doing those things, and it wasn't until and auditions are always a luckin thing, but I know the show back and forth. So it was like I'm singing music that I already know. And so like even when I got to my audition for it, my final audition, and I like left work to go do it, and I was hiding it from my bandmates because I was like, I don't want them to get nervous. I'm gonna leave them. But I was like, they're asking me to come back. I feel like that's important. So I came back to the callback and I was like, they were running late, and I was just like, I gotta go to work, y'all. I sang my 2 songs, and they were like, "Great, do you know the reprise?" And I was like, "Yeah, but like, I gotta go." But I do know it. Sure, can you play it? You know what I mean? And I remember he played it. Tim Weil, the or OG MD, started playing it. Because the pianist that they had in there didn't know how to play it. Didn't
Yeah.
because I wasn't asked for the audition. So he got up and played, and he plays it like he is Joseph Joubert. So he was like, and I was like, live in my house. And I don't know what happened, but I couldn't keep it together. All of the fighting, all of the confusion just came up, and I'm bawling and I'm yelling, barking. And I get through the number, and then at the end it goes, good. And I said to Michael Crive, in tears, can I please go? Can I please go? He said, yes, you can go. Thank you. And I left and went back to Jersey. You know, and so like it was, I, I don't know, it just was so, it felt like luck in that sense of opportunity meeting preparation.
Yeah, because that vulnerability that you had in high school.
That I couldn't, that still like riding a ship like this
Yeah.
uh, was
It was
enough.
in that room. It was in that room.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was enough. So I feel like, as much as I want to say that, like, it was, I dreamed to be on Broadway. I was like, I dreamed to have a job. I was like, that to me makes sense. This one happens to be on Broadway. You know what I mean? And so that was the lucky part, but I wouldn't have gotten there if I didn't know something. You know what I mean? So I feel like everything I've gotten, I've worked hard for and I've showed up for. And then I did a whole year of never calling out. And then they asked me to join Broadway. And then I learned 3 tracks in 3 weeks and went on for all of those tracks in 2 weeks. So I never felt like anybody was giving me anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't just lucky to be in the room as much as I was lucky to be there, much to have the opportunity. But I was like, oh, I was like, there's no stopping. I have to run. I don't have the luxury of skipping and looking to the side. I gotta run. I gotta run and I have to work. And so that just makes me like the dreams part kind of felt like, well, what's next? Where am I running to now?
Yeah.
I will pay for that later on in life. I'll know now. But at then I was just like, keep running, Forrest. Keep
Yeah. Yes.
running.
Now, what are you running toward now?
I think at this time, I would say the repercussions of that mentality is like, I liken it to like how puppies, even when they, you know, use the bathroom on concrete, they still kick their legs afterwards because that's in their instinct to do. I feel like there's an instinct of mine to work hard, but sometimes working smarter is the evolution of working hard. And sometimes you fall back on that thing of, well, let's get out my old hoe and just get to scooping. And you're like, well, first of all, you're not that age anymore. So you get tired more often. You know, it's not really sustainable. And you really need to start working smarter in that way. So I feel like I've been on a long journey to up my efficiency and figure out where I want to go and what I want to do and what my goals are. And figure out that. And because steps are easy. I'm not scared about steps. I'm only nervous about destination. So figure out destination. So I've been really trying to like comb out what I want to do next. And right now, I kind of feel I'm in a world of, I really enjoy performing. I really enjoy uh, storytelling through music, and I really enjoy making beautiful music with other musicians and things like that, which isn't always on the Broadway stage. So I'm at that time where it's like, well, you know, divided by making sure I eat, is that like, you know, you're like, great. So what is the next steps? What am I doing for this? And it's wonderful to be in the Broadway community, but then realizing that that's not a lifetime community all the time. Sorry, as in like a working community. As in like, I'm not sure anybody has worked for 40 years straight. I'm not sure there's a body that can work 40 years straight doing this. And again, things no one tells you is that you're going to spend all of your time and effort and money getting to a thing. And then at a certain point, you have to figure out what else you do so that you can continue to eat. Yeah. So I'm at that point where I'm like, great, I'm excited and I am proud of the work that I do, especially on the Broadway circuit. But now I can use all these tools to build some more and more things. And I've started other companies before, but I now have a production company that kind of produces events and produces music for events. I also run a wedding band, which is fun. Which though wedding band it is, I don't miss the opportunity of being like in someone's special moment of their life.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? How special is that? Like, I'm not, doesn't miss me. And so there's an importance there. So I feel kind of fulfilled in that way of like doing the job that the gifts we've been given feel like they're right to do. And exploring what all that means and where those can go. So that's why I'm kind of like really like going, what else? What else can we get out of here? What else can we squeeze out of this wonderful thing called life? And
Yeah.
family and love. Yeah.
So, I can't let you go without asking,
Yeah.
what else gonna do as Black people and Black artists in this climate? Like, what should we be doing? How should we be thinking about our art? Should we be thinking about it differently? What are your thoughts on that?
I think we have been called. I think whenever society is in a rut, whenever they're in chaos, I think it becomes our job to work within it, figure out the gaps, mirror it, show where we are and who we are, remind us who we are. I feel like our task is to double down on it all. And I think we were in a world of like right and wrong a little bit more. And I'm not sure those rules apply anymore. I feel like we're not fast at rewriting rules as we are evolving. And sometimes the rules don't match where we are now. And I feel like the ability or the permission to go, especially for like people like me, I'm going to ignore this rule and just see what happens. What's the worst thing? You're going to say no? You would have said no anyway. But if it's good, you might go. And I think that is all my job is to do, is to make you go. That's all. So I feel like the call to us artists now are to double down, to when everyone else is hiding for safety, let's not be safe. Let's actually go further into the unknown. Let's figure something new out. We're not, as opposed to regurgitate, let's figure out something completely new. If we've never been there, let's go there and see what happens. Like, I feel like what's worse feels like stopping. Stopping feels like worse. Stopping feels like waiting for it to figure itself out feels worse. Only doing what people can digest feels exhausting.
That is exhausting. Yeah.
So that's what I feel like the call is. And I kind of feel like, hot take, I kind of feel like the pandemic was a long TD Jakes call of get ready, 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 get ready. Because it was like, okay, y'all, you're about to be called to do a lot of work. And now you have time to figure out, this is your incubation period. Figure your own stuff out, figure out how to use the camera, figure out how to use the internet, figure out how to use social media, figure out how to learn the new world, because your tasks are going to be on a different, the new battle will be on a new field, and you'll need all of these assets to get the job done. It is not the job. What is on the other side is the task.
That's so good. That actually leads me. I have two more questions.
Yeah.
I could be here for, we could be here forever.
Me too. I
Because
know.
it's so good. But I wanted to ask you, being a tech guy, and you, I mean, all these hats. I'm like, tech, wedding band, BIV. I forgot the title, but he does all the communication.
Right.
BIV, theater, recording artist, and you're this tech guy. So I mean, talk about right, left side of the
Right.
brain.
I'm a nerd.
Yes.
At the core, yeah.
I love it. So being this tech guy, what are some things that you think artists should really school themselves on in this season, because we got AI now, we have all this stuff.
Mhm.
And, I have my generation, I'm also my generation, and I still have friends that don't quite get Instagram, or,
Right,
oh no, I don't mess with that, whatever it is. And I'm like, oh,
right.
wow, you should know about that. So what
Yeah.
are the things now that we need to learn about right now in order to keep up with where we're going?
I feel like the start of that conversation is about branding. And I
Mm,
feel like we have to get serious about that. And it's a
mhm,
protective tool. And especially in this new climate we're talking about, right? As
mhm.
in, like, Sasha Fierce is who Beyonce has to become to do all the things that we love.
Yeah.
Beyonce, don't do interviews. She's in the back dreaming up things. And then Sasha, so her branding has to come out and be the roar so that she could still be a human being, because that's how big the tasks are, I think, these days. So I feel like how we approach technology, I think, depends on how we're approaching our brand. If I just want to have friends and I want to talk to people, you can do that. And you can ignore all the pressures of everything else, how these things work, and you can use them as that. Use Facebook, don't use Facebook. Use Instagram, don't use Instagram. Use TikTok, don't. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever you want, if that's what you, then there are no rules. I think people sometimes feel like they have to. And
Mhm.
I was like, you got a job that pay you for this? You don't have to do anything. You could be where you want to be. Now, if you want to know some stuff because you got FOMO, that's something else. Then go get on the app to go look at it. Like, you know, it's not complicated in that regard.
Yes.
But if you're an artist, and even if yourself is the product, what is the brand and what is the person that sits on the couch that eats ice cream? I think if we better separate that, then you can look at technology as tools and not hurdles. Because
Mhm.
then if your brand requires you to be seen or you want to share your stuff, then you'll get on the platform and share your stuff. Then it'll be about that. Then you won't take it as a personal thing or take it as a, you know what I mean? I think we do better. I for myself, right? Let's talk about social media, right? I can run a company's social media better than I do my own, because it's easier to do something like this than to be like this.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you create yourself in a this, create your branding or identify your branding in a this place, then
Mhm.
you can use technology to do what it is. And you can use Instagram to sell your things, to kind of market what it is that you love.
Mhm.
And then you can use TikTok to be able to monetize and to create in a space that is somewhat fun and also lucrative. So, like, there's a way that you can do that if you have the bandwidth for that, you know, and you can figure out what all these things do so that you can figure out that AI is a tool that, just like I remember when MP3s, we moved from CDs to MP3s, and I do remember that halfway through the MP3 movement, once we got like, was ripping individual songs and songs, no one, like, we thought like we can get music faster, but no one thought it would change the music industry from albums to singles and a different place. Like, and so I remember the industry talking, they were like, we should have thought about this more before we just started doing this. So
Mhm.
I think about that in the AI world. I was like, it, for as little as we've been talking about its growth, it's now the only search engine on Instagram. And you're like, well, I don't even get a choice. And y'all don't really know how to use it, really. Like, I was like, so I feel like there's a learning curve to it. And
Yeah.
because it's moving so fast, I think it just requires the people who use any of these things to just lean in and figure out a little bit more about it.
Mhm.
So we figure out what may be a repercussion later on, or what, so you don't, nothing blindsides you.
Right. Right.
So I feel like that there's a sense of trying to get a little closer to, I believe in that. Like, you know what I mean? If you don't like it, figure out why.
Mm.
Figure out why, because there may be a case where that's all you got. And then now you're left with this thing you don't like and you never looked at
Ooh,
it.
ouch.
But like, that's, I mean, but that's our technology world. Like, you know what I mean? And if eventually AI eventually is how we get into airplanes, right? Then everybody's going to have to figure it out. So, like, So I feel like instead of waiting until it's forced, I think it's good to like take spoonfuls of, read some articles, read some like just spoon some information in, just so that you understand, so the word doesn't leave you, so the technology doesn't leave you behind in
Yeah.
that regard. And then you also then get to use it once you understand it.
Mm,
That's a lot of a technical answer, but
that's a good one. So I asked this last question of my last guest, who was our friend, a mutual friend of ours.
Mm,
And the question is in the Bible, in
mhm,
Genesis,
mhm,
when the Lord was creating us
mhm.
and the planet, um, as he created each thing, he said, he stood back, he looked at it, and he said, "It is good." What have you created that you, because we're so critical as artists, so what have you created that you stand back now and you look at and you say, you know what, it's good?
Yeah. Well, I definitely have a lot of pride in my album work, only because there's no question, there's no brief, and there's no checkbox of like, do you like it in creating it? So the only person I have to please is me. And so if I, and again, I got to do the work the way I like to do the work, and I thank God the first project, my first big album project, I had a good friend who was helping funding it in our first company. So I was like, oh, so there's support there. And so I was like, I really just get to make music.
Mm.
And someone was invested in hearing what I wanted to say. And I was like, okay. So I don't, as much as also then the process of it, I can imagine it to, I, I can only imagine it to like giving birth and like children, is that like, you're like, this is the most amazing thing. Was it painful? Yes. Were there headaches? Absolutely. Did I throw it across the room at some point? Probably. Like, you know what I mean? All those things happened in the processes of it, but I still look back at it, but it doesn't tarnish the fact that I'm proud of the work that I did. I like it. I hope other people like it. I absolutely hope other people like it. But I'm proud that I was able to cobble these emotions into the semblance of a melody, found some words to kind of express it, got other people to believe how I wanted to do it. They said yes and got on board and figured out what I was doing. And then we created this project. And then I get to share it. If that's not magic, I don't know what is. I definitely am proud of the music I've created in that regard. Um, I have a new single that just came out called "Your Time," and I'm excited about that. And speaking of like sharing, it's one of those songs that's like not particularly a happy song. I would even say it's an anti-Valentine's Day almost song, but I was like, that's reality. So again, talking about like what is the unknown, what is the like not the path. I was like, let's instead of making a love song for again, Marcus, why don't you do this one? I didn't know when to share this music because I was like, when is the right time? Summer feels too bright,
Mhm.
December, Christmas, like you know what I mean. So I decided just to release it now. So I'm excited to share that one. But it's called Your Time. And it's everywhere streaming.
Your Time.
Yeah.
Guys, get Your Time streaming everywhere. You must follow him because
Oh.
also he's really a great live performer. And so if you go to his website, you can see some clips. Um, and also you can see all these colors that we've been talking about. I had such a good time with you.
Oh, me
Thank you
too.
for joining me. This is
I
how
could recite every line you told me, say them as